Welcome to the Fanspeak Network. I'm your host, Megan Shoup. You can follow me on Twitter at Megs08DFS. And since we're in the middle of summer, of course, we are talking best ball drafts. I'm here with my brother, Steve, and we are doing plenty of best ball drafts on Underdog Fantasy. Steve, how many best ball manias have you done today?
Only one BBM3. Finishing up a lot of slow drafts from the last puppy. Looking forward to the next one dropping soon, hopefully.
I know. I'm so excited for them to drop the next puppy. Steve and I are really loving Underdog, and you guys should check out Underdog too. Go to Underdog Fantasy. If you use code FANSPEAK, you will get 100% deposit match up to $100. That lets you get 4 Best Ball Mania 3 entries, right, Steve?
Yeah, for absolutely free. They are paying you to enter a contest that has $10 million in guaranteed prizes.
Yeah, that doesn't, $2 million at the top. That doesn't suck. I'll take some shots at that. So we're having fun with that. We're also having fun analyzing it, talking about it. Steve's been writing some articles about it. He just wrote a couple articles about wide receiver 1 battles and where you can maybe find some ADP value, because, a lot of times a wide receiver 1 on a team is very clear, but there's other cases where it's not so clear. And those are the opportunities where you may be able to find some ADP value in best ball. So that is what we are talking about today. Steve, let's start with the NFC, and we're going to talk about the Packers first. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers lost his weapons, and obviously Davante Adams and MVS as well. And now his top target, most people presumably think, is Allen Lazard. You also have Randall Cobb, who's his bestie, his buddy. And then you've got rookie Christian Watson and, old timer Sammy Watkins. So where do you see that shaking out as who will be his top target? And do you see any ADP value there?
Well, I think in general, there's a lot of ADP value with the Packers wide receivers, because even Lazard, who has moved up and gone ahead of Christian Watson a month ago, Watson's actually kind of going basically on par, or actually even a little ahead of Lazard. So, but even Lazard is at 80, being drafted 80, 81 ADP. I mean, that's tremendous value for the Packers, potentially number 1 weapon. Sure, he's not, whoever it is not going to put up Davante Adams numbers, but they can put up really good numbers with back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers. Right. In the end, I think we need to trust Rodgers. Rodgers said that Allen Lazard is going to be the number 1, and I think that's what it's going to be. Christian Watson has a lot of promise, but this is a guy who only had 102 receptions in all of college, in FCS college at that, in his entire career. Sammy Watkins hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiving season since the second year in the league. And Randall Cobb is getting up there in age. So I think Lazard's the number 1. I wouldn't be surprised if Cobb ends up the number 2, at least in targets, maybe catches. But he also had 5 touchdowns in limited work last year. So I think you could get tremendous value as he's going, 214 right now in Underdog. But Allen Lazard's the guy, and I think you're getting, a top 30 wide receiver, and he's going 80th in drafts, and that's just huge value. So I think we trust.
And
Rodgers
he's attached to Aaron Rodgers, of course,
and just roll with Lazard. I'm not that interested in Watson and Watkins. There are paths where they could be successful. So because their ADP is not too crazy, take a shot or 2 on them. But I think Lazard's the guy you want to load up on.
Okay, so you have plenty of shares of Lazard and some late, last round of Cobb.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move over to another team in the NFC that has always been neck and neck with these two, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They obviously lost Russell Wilson, so they are not tied to a good quarterback anymore. However, these are 2 very talented receivers. They are 2 number 1 type receivers. So where do you see, what's your strategy with the Seattle receivers?
So, I think the thing that's interesting with Seattle is I think everyone just assumes that DK Metcalf is just so much better than Tyler Lockett. And from a physical specimen, obviously he's younger. Yeah, he's got that going for him, no doubt about it. But Tyler Lockett is really good at football. He's a really excellent route runner, got really good speed, can be a deep threat, can do stuff underneath. And you just look at the 3 years together in the league, Tyler Lockett averaged 12.8, 13.5, and 12.1 half-point PPR, which is what Underdog uses, fantasy points per game these past 3 years. During that same time, Metcalf averaged 12.2, 14.4 and 9.9. So only 1 year was Metcalf better, and it was within a point. They've been very close the entire way. And right now you have literally a 50 place difference in ADP. Metcalf's going 51.7. Lockett is going 99.7. So, you're getting a guy four plus rounds later who could easily be the number one on this team. And yes, it's not with Russ Wilson anymore, but still, I think one of these guys is going to pay off. And Lockett is a safer bet because you're not investing nearly as much. He also might do better with a non-Russ Wilson quarterback, just because I think he's a better natural route runner.
Yeah. Okay. I was also going to say kind of the underneath outlet type stuff, right?
Yeah, I think he can handle that better, and just a better route runner to. DK Metcalf is just so great on those deep posts and deep, 9 routes. That Russ is just so great at dropping it right in his hands. But Lockett, I think, can just do a little bit better of everything else. And whether it's Geno, whether it's Locke, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, I just see Lockett being a better probable fit in those scenarios.
All right, let's move over to the AFC, and let's first talk about Kansas City. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes lost one of his biggest weapons in Tyreek Hill, but he's now got Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling came over from Packers, who we were just talking about. So between those three, where are you seeing where you can get ADP value? Who do you think will ultimately be the number one, and what is your strategy with the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think this is another scenario where all these guys actually potentially have some ADP value. Juju is going the highest at 55, MVS is going 89.9, and Sky Moore basically around behind that, 99.5. So, I think we all know that Travis Kelce is going to be the true number one in this offense, but as we've seen, there's definitely room for somebody else to pay off. And I wouldn't be surprised if 2 of these guys really pay off. For me, I like going with Juju. Yes, I know he was really banged up last year, and even the year before he tailed off as the season wore on. But prior to that, that 2017 to 2019 run, he was highly productive. And one of those years, he had Duck Hodges at quarterback. So, we're talking about a guy who can get open. He's going to be the underneath safety valve, I think, for Mahomes. But he, I don't think we should just treat him as just a first down chain mover. I think he can still break some plays. MVS is going to be, I think, their deep threat, and I think Sky Moore is going to do a little of everything. I think Sky Moore has the highest upside, and in a tournament setting like Underdog, he might be the guy who's the second half breakout. So I kind of like getting some shares of him. But I think Juju is probably the guy who just ends up scoring the most wide receiver points on this team.
So Juju and Sky Moore, the two that you're getting the most shares of.
And MVS, if he does have more than just the deep threat role, he could pay off also because he's going to have those spike weeks with those deep shots from Mahomes.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, now let's move over to the Patriots. We don't always think of the Patriots as a pass happy team. At least I don't. I think of them, at least as more of a run first team, especially post Tom Brady era. But we've got Jacoby Myers, Devontae Parker. Who do you see as the number one? Who do you think will emerge as the number one? Where do you see ADP value?
Yeah, so last year, Jacoby Myers pretty much dominated every Patriots receiving category except touchdowns, and that's what held him back. He only got his first 2 touchdowns of his entire career, which is just ridiculous considering how much he's been utilized his last couple of years. But he was the target monster last year. I still think he's going to have good targets, but Devontae Parker is the guy that I'm interested in, and I would even take him. I'd even be interested in Parker, even if his ADP was higher than Myers, which currently right now it's about 15 picks behind Myers. So you're also getting a little value there. But Parker, we forget from a per game standpoint, he's actually produced in Miami and, never really fully lived up to his high draft status, but he's produced on a per game standpoint. A couple years ago when he did have a pretty fully healthy season, He was like a top 12 fantasy wide receiver in half point PPR. So, yeah, the ability's there. He's going to probably be the touchdown guy, the big play guy downfield. So he's going to give you some of those spike weeks. And I do think, Mac Jones played well last year, and I think they're going to open it up a little bit more for him this year.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I think these are some great tips to take into your underdog drafts, whether you're doing the Best Ball Mania and upcoming puppy leagues with your friends. Again, be sure to check out underdogfantasy.com. Use code FANSPEAK, get that deposit bonus, and get in some of these drafts with us. And before you get out of here, please be sure to like this episode and subscribe to the Fanspeak Network. We're just getting going, and we've got plenty of more great fantasy content coming. Also, be sure to check out at StevoSpeak. I forgot to mention that at the top. So until next time, do some underdog fantasy drafts, and we'll see you next time.